Hey guys, this is Warren from the Pattern Journal, and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be talking about some of the recent reveals that we've seen from Games Workshop for Warhammer the Horus Heresy, and this all goes back to the middle of December last year up until this past week, which was very sensational, at least for me as a player. Now, there's a lot that we're to talk about. There were at least 13 weekly reveals that I can recall off the top of my head, if I'm had the number right. And some of the reveals were also covered during the LVO Open Day reveals. That there's a separate video for that on the channel. The link to that will be in the description down below. So please check it out and let me know what you think. But overall, I think this is a really good mix of reveals altogether. You got Loyalist Space Marines, you got Traitor Space Marines, or legions, I guess is the more appropriate term here. We got some stuff for the Mechanicum as well, and then some legion specific stuff too, which I think was fantastic overall because this really shows that GW is committed to plugging all those gaps in the different armies, whether it's legions, it's Mechanicum, or even down the line as we might see this year, it's Custodes or the Sisters of Silence and maybe even some more demons. More than that, who knows? There's a lot of stuff that GW has to cover for this game system, and we are on, it's been an absolute ball of the last 2.5 months, and it has me super excited. So, anyways, let's get started and let's jump right into it. The first one that they revealed when they restarted Horus Heresy Thursdays was this guy. So this guy, he's meant to be the caster of the runes. So for the Space Wolves Legion, this guy is essentially their psyker or their librarian model. But of course, as the Space Wolves say, there are no psykers and no witches on Fenris. It's all just, it's the shamanistic magic, whatever, that the Space Wolves have going for them. Looking at him straight up, I think this is a fantastic model. It evokes the barbarian nature of the Legion really well. It reflects the Space Wolves' aesthetic, their culture, their planet, their homeworld, and everything about it. Whether it's the massive wolf skull on the staff there, or the pelts, assuming they're all wolf pelts. All of that is represented really well. The frost axe, which I'm sure that in the lore it's going to be a frost axe, but it might just be a power axe or whatever. I'm not sure about the rules, but I think this model looks really fantastic. The paint job is also really nice, as you can see here. They got some good stuff going everywhere. It's a limited color palette from what I can tell, but I think it works really well with that set. The head is it's a little bit weird. It looks my first reaction to that is okay, so we got Scottish Spitfuls now. It doesn't quite strike me as a Nordic head, so it is what it is. Here you can see some of the more details. It's a really good model, I feel. It has a good balance. It's a modern kit, but it also reflects, some of the aesthetics we've seen with the past Legion specific units, or even, going back further to, the 40K spatial stuff, which is just chock full of all of this, all these decorations and icons and trims and everything, represented really well. Definitely it would be like, 8 or 9 out of 10 model for me. So this guy is supposed to be an Iron Warriors Warsmith. You can probably just use him as any kind of a praetor you want, or even as a centurion. But GW specifically has released this guy as a Warsmith, and I think he looks freaking rad. That massive Warhammer, it's totally, it fits completely with the massive aesthetics of Warhammer just in general, and it looks very comical, I have to say, but at the same time, it fits the Iron Warriors, right? They always want to be the biggest and the baddest, and just it's also special hammer. It's called the Graviton hammer, if I'm not mistaken. And you can see the special, really thick, the mecha dendrite arm coming out from the backpack, attached to this Cataphracti guy. So again, we have a mixture, right, compared to the last guy. So the last guy was in power armor, this guy's in cataphractii armor, and he looks really good. The face is a little bit odd, I have to say, with the skull cap and everything. But again, it's fine. I think this is a fantastic model. I'm not a big fan of the Iron Warriors Legion, but this model is really good. So again, definitely, skirting that boundary between an 8 out of 10 and 9 out of 10 model. Here's the special edition version of this guy. I believe he's only available in Warhammer World during events or something like that. This is a much better pose for this model than the one that is generally going to be available, which is, this guy. Because, when he's holding the massive hammer, just like that at rest, it looks really odd. But you go down to the two-handed pose, it looks so much better. It looks more menacing. So, I mean, I guess that is why it's a special edition. Although, I would have just released this model as it is. Skip the special editions nonsense and everything. What you may have. And here we have an Iron Hands character. So again, a Praetor, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And again, I'm a big fan of this model. It has a lot going for it. It has the bionic leg, and what looks like it might be a bionic hand as well, right there, the one that's holding the pistol up in that grip. But again, you can use this guy as a tech marine for any legion, or as even for the Iron Hands themselves. The guy can just be an Iron Father or something. The half head, that you can see on the in the corner up there. I think that one looks really good, especially it all reflects the aesthetics with the Iron Hands, right? Because they believe the flesh is weak, which it's a miscoded thing that the Iron Hands going for themselves. But again, fits the aesthetic really well. Shows the guy has been in some big bad scrapes in his life. Lots of those, the Tech Marine Mechadon at arms, massive power fist going for him. His cloak has those metallic things at the bottom, weighing it down and stuff. Looks really good. Again, here's some more close-ups. Fantastic detail. This one I would definitely put at a 9 out of 10. Not below that at all, for sure. I think, this was like such a surprise to see when, Heresy Thursday is kicked up again. And I think GW did a fantastic job with all of these models. And it was, as we're going to see with all the other models that they showed off, this is like a really strong set of designs overall. So this guy is supposed to be the loyalist overseer, which is just an Astartes character from the Legion who oversees a bunch of militia or solar auxilia, whatever term you want to call the human uh, extra forces that the legions had going with them. And there's been a lot of criticisms of this guy that he looks quite basic, and there's not enough decoration on this guy. Oh, sorry, we skipped ahead there. My bad. So yeah, okay. So going back to this guy, but I think he looks fine just as it is. It's just a Legion overseer. It's not a particularly high-ranking character, so the lack of massive decorations is totally fine with me. Plus, I think just as it is, the guy makes perfect stand-in chaplain for any of the legions. With that rod of office that he has, the command rod, perfect. Just buy this guy and use it as a chaplain. Yes, I get the criticisms with this model that, and it's not about the model itself, it's more about GW's pricing. This guy is probably going to be priced the same as, all the other resin characters that GW puts out for Horus Heresy, which is a big shame because I think that's going to stop a lot of people from buying this model, and that's gonna be a bit of a feedback loop where okay, few people buy, GW says it's not popular enough, and then even less people buy, and it just keeps feeding. I hope this guy sticks around for like 7, 8, 10, 15 years, because as it looks like to me on the screen, it has lots of good potential for conversions and kit bashes even. because there's nothing, no complicated poses or anything. The arms pretty much stand on their own and everything, and you can just pose it down however you want it to. And again, like I said, the decorations and iconography that do exist on the model, they're still pretty good. I would be happy to purchase this model. Yeah, it's going to be expensive, but that said, I think it's not bad. I think it's a really good model from a design perspective. And the only, the major drawback is just going to be that, oh, it's going to be very pricey. So, anyways, that's that, guys. And here we have the trader version of the same guy. So we see how, it's a huge shift and just the general aesthetic. This guy, they have an option for some kind of a skull mask and skull helmet on this guy, and he has a lash instead of a rod of office, and he's got a bunch of skulls there and chains and all of that. So yeah, that can kind of like take away from the aesthetics a little bit for people who are like, oh, well, I don't want my models to be that chaosified. And, I do kind of understand the criticisms that it's not too dissimilar to a 40K Legionnaire model or a Chaos Chosen model. But, again, it offers you conversion opportunities. Just forget about the pricing. If we talk about the pricing, then there's so much that just doesn't make sense. And, it just becomes an argument that is like, overdone. We I don't want to dwell on that too much. Just speaking entirely from the design perspective, I think all these models are really good, and they just show that how far GW has come in their design for Astartes, because there's so much design space, but they are frequently unwilling to explore that design space, and that is where these guys come in. Now, I will say that it kind of sucks that this character doesn't have, a second weapon. It's just a pointing arm and one hand holding a lash or, a whip at rest. It kind of seems like, yeah, I would have liked more oomph, give him a holster at least, GW or something, But all that said, I think the posing opportunities on this guy are still really good. You can see the model as it is. It looks perfectly fine. But if you tilt that head or heads, and with the hand, you cut away the actual hand, like right here at the wrist, you cut it off and you give it maybe some kind of a special bolter, a volkite pistol, or something like that. And I think you change the aura of the model. You change the entire look of the model immediately if you do that. So again, lots of kid bashing opportunities and everything. Um, this one I wouldn't say it's. I would say it's on like the lower end of the spectrum. On it's like between a 7 and 8. It's sitting somewhere there. It's almost really good, but just the empty hand, it's giving me a little bit of a pause. Here you can see some more details, and just again, these characters, while it says it's a loyalist character or a traitor character, you can use these for any legion really. Like with this guy even, he comes with a bare head. You could just seriously just use this guy in a loyalist army, and the lash is just like, okay, so it's a legion or it's an army force within the legion that has seen some really terrible events of late or whatever, and they're like just not down with any BS from the army, Imperial Army Auxilia, or whatever that they're commanding. So they are a bit more brutal, they're a bit more ruthless, or whatever, maybe far away from the eyes of their Primarch or something like that. So you can make the narrative fit anything you want. That's the beauty of all of these models. Which brings us to this guy. And this guy is the Loyalist Herald. Now, at first glance, that towel banner, it's like, just why? I am like, it was such, when this model was previewed, everyone was like, whoa. It's like, you could use this guy as maybe banner bearer in a regular squad, but as a character that you want to be an actual Herald HQ, as a Centurion HQ model, console HQ, it doesn't quite work. That banner needed to be much bigger. Doesn't matter that the banner top, the icon, it's really big. And it's just like I kind of get what they're going for, but it's like it doesn't really work because this guy is supposed to be, a really high level banner bearer, maybe going along with the praetor of the army, or maybe even, in some capacity, he's escorting the Primarch as well, or any other senior commander of the Legion. So, yeah, yeah, the hand towel size banner just like it doesn't make any sense. Look past that though, I really like the change in the design where it's like, they give the guy a sash, he also has a tabard, like a half tabard down below, but also there's a power fist in the other hand, right? And again, there's the option where, well, it might not be an option actually, but the guy has a bionic leg. That's a really good bit of detail. Shoulder pads look amazing, of course. Again, this one would be more like, the banner really brings it down quite a bit. I really don't understand what they were going for, but I mean, I guess it is what it is. And this one was really confusing to me. They showed off this, sample in different legions. It's like, guys, why are you showing two different Ultramarines? You know, doesn't really make sense because the Ultramarines are the only legion who use blue, at least on the loyalist side. So that was confusing. They could have done it. So you have the black colors with the Dark Angels, you have the blues with the Ultramarine. They could have really just done something like go green for the Salamanders, go red for the Blood Angels. You guys had options, but okay, fine. It's like whatever. You know, kind of understandable to some degree. But again, it's a really decent model. And again, so far, there's a really good mix of different armor marks with all these characters. Whether it's Mark 5 or Mark 6, or these guys, they look like I believe that is Mark 3, the old Mark 3. So, that's really good stuff. I think this was a very good choice. Here we have the Trader Herald, and this one was disappointing as well. Because we've seen last year, we saw with the Legion Command Squad kits that GW can absolutely do the huge banners. And I find that the lack of a huge banner on either of these guys, whether it's Loyalist or Herald, it it really does stand out. Like again, I get that they want to give you options, but putting the big banners in a big kit, and whereas the actual characters who have banners, they don't have actual full banners. It's a massive oversight. But again, if you look past that, this guy is really good. Again, it's a mix of armors. He has really nice power axe with him. The emo head, the emo head is kind of fantastic. They could have you know I imagine a lot of people would be going with the helmeted head instead of the bear head on this guy because the emo look is really not for everybody. But like he could be a real good one for a Raven Guard, I guess. As long as we use a different banner on him. Here's some more details on this guy. And I really like this guy, everything said, because, you know, and I can understand what they're going for with this one as well, because this is the base model. They've made it up as a Sons of Horus character. And, the Sons of Horus are the preeminent Traitor Legion, and the eye of the War Master is everywhere for the Traitor Legions at large. So, I get what they're going for with that iconography, but would have been really nice if that was the banner top for a really huge banner. And here again, you can see a bunch of different schemes. So you got the Emperor's Children, you got World Eaters, you got the Thousand Sons. Really odd that they went for a heavy metallic look on these three sample models, but it is what it is. And I would have liked it if they had done some conversions as well with these guys. So it's the same stock model. Do some conversion, change up the posing or something, or what have you. Would have been really nice. And here we have the first Mechanicum release. This is the Sequitor Magisterium or Arquitor Magisterium. One second, please. Yes. No, I'm sorry. Secutari Axiar. My bad. I apologize for the confusion. He's going to be an HQ character for Mechanicum Army. Now, the lore behind these guys is that they command the specific organization within the Mechanicum that, they lead the actual Skitari or Sekitari who defend the massive Titan machines, the Imperial Titans, the Traitor Titans, I guess, as well you could call them, or even, the Knights and all of those massive god machines. And I think this is fairly good. It looks a little plain, I won't lie. Because again, this is a model that is at rest. A more dynamic pose would have made this really good. As you can see, there are a ton of details on the model. The lore is really good by and large, and they have some of the same hallmarks for that you see with 40k Mechanicus, Adeptus Mechanicus, but also it is its own thing because the Secretari are an exclusive 30k model. But again, AdMech players like me, or I mean, I'm not a player per se, more of a collector of the army. I have a few painted up models, a few built ones and stuff. All of these models, like this one and the next one that we're about to see soon, would have been amazing if we got these for 40k as well. Because the 30k range is very insular, 40k range is very insular and limited in its scope of aesthetics and everything. But this was so good, man. I would love to see this in the army. And here we have the second HQ character that these guys got, 30k Mechanicum, and Arquitor Magisterium. So this one, the lore behind this character is that the Arquitors are essentially hunters slash assassins. They're very high level adepts or tech megos or whatever the term is, very high level ones who have they're centuries old or whatever, and they basically hunt down those who defy the laws of the Mechanicum. So basically that would be any senior megos who defy the laws of the Imperium basically, and they hunt down those who dabble in some kind of unholy combinations of the warp and technology or and stuff, you know abominable intelligences and just dark sorcery and everything. So basically any traitor character, so to speak, that would be, or rogue or renegade, would be their target. I think this model perfectly breaks the entire aesthetic of the Mechanicum army, whether it's 30k or 40k, because a slender character like that we have not seen within the Mechanicum. Like, yeah, the Skitari characters, they're a bit on the thin side and everything. They're very lean and whatever. But overall, just, if you look at the head of the model, it's got a sword like that. Those, the mechanicals, no, sorry, not the mechanics, the mechanical arms on the back, and even the assistant. You know, this is something more fitting within the Duneverse, I would say, than Warhammer. And I really appreciate this design. And again, I would love, love, love for this to be in the 40k army as well. So, anyways, that's everything I have on this character. Again, these are characters that came out with the Mars Civil War book, I believe. I'm not sure what exactly the book was called, but these are all characters that are found in that book that came out last year. And it's all plugging holes in the army ranges. And yeah, I was kind of pissed that we didn't get more Astartes characters, but as we've seen just preceding all of this, GW gave us both Legion specific stuff and generic stuff. So, the momentum is strong. And then this in February. This was a huge reveal, a new version of Angron, and this is basically, chaosified Angron. This is post the novel Betrayer, when sometime during the I forget what it was called. The Night Lords were on the Thramas Crusade within Ultramar, and then the ward bearers and the world leaders together, they were also, laying waste to everything within Gilliman's empire, mini empire, mini imperium, and in a fatal confrontation, fatal or historic, no, in I would say fatal confrontation against Gilliman. Aragorn was like, he's about to die, but then Lorgar basically forces his ascension because he's like, if he dies, that's like bad. Like it would be catastrophic for the heresy and everything that Lorgar had foreseen, what the gods had told him should happen and everything. So he forces Angron's ascension to demonhood. So that is basically what we see here. Again, I'm confused why GW loves all these, the big, you know, high outstretched wings for the Demon Primarchs. They did it with Fulgrim in 2023 when they revealed Fulgrim Transfigured. And again, they're doing the same thing with Angron. It makes the model look really unwieldy, and I can't imagine how much of a pain it is going to be to transport like that. I imagine a lot of people will just magnetize these wings and just keep them separate otherwise, because like I said, massive pain to transport this guy. Now, if you look here, the there's some odd proportions to the model, but I believe that's also down to the fact that his stance is really wide and there's a lot going on with his torso. So, you see all those hanging skulls and all those chains and everything. It gives a really weird vibe to the model. Like, yeah, it's amazingly designed and everything, although I'm pissed that there's a Blood Angel's dead on his base. But, you know, something about the stance, the pose, it looks a little weird. And it's, the proportions. It's like, if you look at it just straight up, from a distance, it's like, okay, so he has a really thick chest, like barrel chested, for his scale, and then his legs are really skinny. So it's like, so maybe if the legs were a little bit more together, he was standing a bit more upright, it would convey a much better sense of dynamism to the model. But overall, it's not so bad. You know, the real gem with this reveal was this one. So this is the character Captain Lotara Sarin. She commands the Conqueror, which is Angron's flagship. Ostensibly, she says it's her ship, but it's actually Angron's ship. She's just the captain, but um, she's as much in command of it as Angron is, especially once he achieves his demonhood, and she's like the one sane senior voice within the Legion for everything. I really like this model, and I thought this was a really good nod to the friendship and the, well, not exactly a friendship that we would understand in the usual terms, but the allyship between these two characters is really strong within the novels, and I love that GW was like, okay, so we're going to bring that forward within the model range and just gonna do it, no cap. Model looks amazing, although I've seen one criticism that the handprint on her chest, it's actually supposed to be Angron's hand on her uniform from the books. So therefore it's way too small, and it doesn't like cut through her, doesn't really cut through her the front of her uniform, which I guess could be explained that in some way she, instead of an actual bloody handprint, maybe she was like, okay, I can't like exactly walk around with this smelly thing forever, so she has a new uniform and then just does her own handprint or whatever. So it's like, yeah, sure, that's fine. But again, anyways, love the character. If it is available separately from Angron, which I expect 99% to be the case, she's going to be a really good basis to do more conversions. And you could have her as some kind of a army army commander. You could even use it for 40k as an inquisitor, maybe as a castellan for the Estra Militarum. Some kind of a general character, inquisitor. There's so many possibilities, and that's what I love about all these kits in general is when you have the opportunity to do kit bashes and conversions, because that elevates those kits. Here we have Mechanicum Ursarax. I'm not particularly familiar with the Mechanicum range, but however, I'm going by all the comments I saw when this was previewed, people were ecstatic, like highly ecstatic. And this is going to come in a box of six, and two of the guys are going to have the option to have power fists instead of those wicked looking claws. And it's a jump troop, as you can tell with that massive jump back on its back. So it's like I'm not really sure what to think about this one, but I will say that I would have loved to have seen this in 40K as well. Because again, it clashes with the aesthetics of the 40K Mechanicus. And I think that would be a really good choice to do that, you know, to unify the ranges, because the Mechanicum is supposed to be using, all this old technology that hasn't been improved upon for tens of thousands of years or whatever. And this fits right up that alley. This would have been amazing to see for that. So, you know, I don't really have much to say on this except, yeah, I mean, the model looks wicked. Happy for all the Mechanicum players out there. And, I hope you guys have an amazing time with this one. GW did recently release, or yeah, I believe it's going to get released today as of the recording of this video. It's a Saturday, it's the 1st of March, and I believe the Mechanicum Heavy Support Box has been released today, and that includes, the new Thanatar and the new Krios and one other Krios and the Triaros Conveyor, I believe the name of the model is. So it includes those three things, and people are speculating that this model, the Ursarax, it might come in some sort of a fast attack, consolidated box for the army, which is like, sounds fun to me. I don't have any interest in 30K Mechanicum, but happy for all those players, like I said. So yeah, so that's the version with the Power Fist instead. And then we come to, so okay, so this is once again another look at the backpack from the backside, more details. And then finally, the creme de la creme of what I wanted to see with Heresy Thursday once they started doing the Legion specific stuff, or the Legion characters. This guy is an actual name character for the Raven Guard Legion, the 19th. His name is Katie's Next, and he's the Moritat Prime, which means he's a very senior officer within the Legion, but he commands, the destroyer section of the Legion, so to speak. I love absolutely everything about this model. I have zero critiques. I think this is pretty much a 10 on 10 model for me because, so the Mordred Prime, it has it's the gunslinger character of the Legions, and this guy is the Mordred Prime. So, he's like a really senior character. His armor, it is just full of amazing details top to bottom. I'm kind of surprised they didn't show more of it, but some people have said that that could just be down to they don't want to give the 3D modelers or the rescanners, whatever call them. They don't want to give too much away for those guys to come up with a model themselves on release day or whatever, and then just impact the sales. But yeah, I've been wanting to see a Salamanders or Raven Guard Praetor for the last 2.5 months, and this week GW answered my prayers. Coincidentally, this week I was like, I usually every week on Thursday I'm like, in my chat groups I'm like, okay guys, so what do we expect to see? I really want my Salamanders and Raven Guard Praetors, but this week I was like, I just give up, man. It's been 2.5 months, and I'm just like tired. I'm worn out. GW wins. It'll come when it does, and then boom. You know, I can go for a walk after work, come back, and my chat is blowing up. And friends like, hey, have you seen this? Have you seen this? I'm like, okay, GW, thanks for that, I guess. But yeah, amazing. A named character, double amazing, and it has a unique pose. The guy is holding his cape with one hand. He has a drawn pistol on the other, So good, amazing base. I love to see Legion specific stuff like this, especially with name characters. And I think GW did a massive job with this guy. So, and now, I can only hope that next week they reveal a Salamander's character or a generic player or even for them. And, I would just be, that would just be like chef's kiss for me. We're getting closer and closer to, filling up all these gaps in the range, and it's brilliant stuff. So, anyways, guys, that's all for me for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed going this blitz through all these like 13 models, 14 models, and I know it's a lot of consolidated stuff. I should have been doing these videos a lot earlier and smaller chunks and everything, but just been struggling with a lot of things, and so that's all there. So, anyways, please like the video, share it, subscribe to the channel, check out my socials and everything. All the details are going to be down below, and I'll see you guys very soon. And hopefully it's going to be a hobby video, so please keep an eye out on the channel for that. I'll see you guys again. Bye. Cheers.